Hi, welcome to Naima Creates. I'm Naima, and today I'm creating my January 2018 Star Wars themed bullet journal spread. I'm pretty excited to start the new year off with Star Wars, such an iconic series. Just to begin with, I lightly traced out just with regular capital letters where I wanted the January to go across the page. That kind of helps you just have an idea of how wide your letters need to be instead of measuring it out one by one. Then, as you saw, I went over it individually to create the block letters. I did have a bit of trouble with the R because I was trying to match a little bit of the font of the original Star Wars font to really match it well, because I noticed that those letters are a bit more stubby. I would probably have had to do it vertically just because I wanted that height of each individual letter. But either way, I think we get the idea here. So I added some paint in around it because my plan was to do a little bit of a galaxy kind of thing. I'm sure you've seen watercolors like that before, and I'll probably do one of those styles on my channel in the future. So I wanted to have those colors just there lightly in the background, so when I added in the black, I could go ahead and have a little bit of that poking through just to have that galaxy vibe. But once I added that black ink in, I was just so enamored with how deep and pure and dark it was. I just thought it was so beautiful and strong, and I was like, no, I really can't. So as you can see later on, I just pretty much covered the entire page. So painting in small spaces like this, I did use my flat brush. That helps when you're working with straight lines, as I am here. I would just go on to the very corner, so basically turning it on an angle, using the very corner to get into the smaller spaces, and that really helps for you to maintain control. Now don't worry if you do happen to get a little bit of black outside of your line. I did do that. As you can see on the U, there's a little bit of a dot there, but that's just easily corrected with a white gel pen, or even in this scenario, because it's white letters, you can just straight up use whiteout. It's no issue. So then I just, continue taking the ink and spreading it out straight down. I think in hindsight, it would have been better if I had done it in a little bit of a radial motion, so that the ink would all be coming out from the center, basically from the U. You'll see when I do that with the stars in a moment, it would be better if I had done the ink that way all the way around, so all my strokes were going in the same direction that the movement of the page was going. I added a touch of water to the ink just to lighten it up so I could maybe have a bit of that color peeking through. I don't know if it really worked, but I didn't want all that paint to go to waste. So this is the radial motion that I was just talking about. Just using my white gel pen and adding in those stars, zipping past as they go into hyperdrive and, hit light speed. I hope I'm not mixing up my Star Wars and Star Trek terms there. If I am, feel free to insult me in the comments. So this was not really too difficult. All I did was put a center point, as you can see right there in the middle of the U, and then I just used my ruler as a marker to go all the way around in a circle to make sure that nothing was out of place. So for my next page, I wanted to do the habit trackers, and I thought of BB-8, just really cute, pretty easy to draw as well. I'm all about the simplicity. All I did was take washi tape. You can use anything that you have that's a circle shape. I would highly recommend doing it in pencil first. That way you can go back in and add the head on top and then trace over it with your black pen afterwards, which is what I did for most of them. The one on the bottom left corner, I had went in straight with the black pen, and then as you saw, I had to go back over it with the white gel pen to correct it, but once again, no big deal. So I wanted them all to be a little bit different, so I changed up the antenna. Later on you'll see I've changed up the colors here and there, and then I just changed the position of the eyes just so that it had a little bit more movement. It wasn't too rigid, especially given the fact that this is where we're adding in our numbers, right? So that in itself is a little bit flat. So adding a little bit of extra pizzazz wherever you can really does help. After writing in all the habits that I was tracking for this month into the heads. I just added in some little squares and some extra little techie looking detail. Some of it I did borrow from R2D2 because his head is a little bit different in terms of the patterning. Yeah, just to make it look like it's part of that world. I think Ewoks would actually be a really cute version of things to put here as well, instead of BB-8. But, you know, do your own spin on it, take what you love. Maybe, you know, you're not interested in the prequels, you're not interested in the sequels. It's all up to you to just design it however you want and just show your love for the genre. So I flipped back to my swatch page just so I could get a clear overview of what colors I have and what colors I want to use, what color would be closest to what I have in my head. Oh, that's another thing. It's super helpful to have reference photos to look at. So I did, you know, glance at what a picture of BB-8 looks like online, what a picture of R2D2 looked like online, and went from there. So for this page, I decided to go with the orange, of course, which is classic. And then instead of doing blue, I used this deep purple. I guess it's a little bit of an indigo color, which is a little bit off from what R2D2 would be, but I thought it would be a really good complement to the orange. I felt like it was still looking a little bit plain compared to what I wanted, so I decided to take some watercolor paint and just add it in. Because this paper is not watercolor paper, just remember that if you do add watercolor paint, that you shouldn't make it too wet, because you're going to end up having issues with the page wrinkling too much and colors bleeding through onto the other side. So just be aware of that. All I did is I used a palette that I had, which had some dried paint on it. It's a great way to use up your old paint. I mean, watercolor is not like it's going to go bad or anything, so all you have to do is just re-wet it and you're good to go. So I was really happy to have the opportunity to use some of that up. Afterwards, I still wanted a bit more, so I went ahead and just used a light blue Tombow marker, or brush pen rather, and added in some color in different places along the robots. So this is going to be one of my quote pages. I decided to draw, I hope you can guess who it is, Yoda. So I used my watercolor pencils and chose the color, added in a little bit of shading with a deeper shade, and just got my paintbrush wet and went ahead and did that. Do make sure that before you go ahead and add in any writing on top, that it is completely dry, because you don't want it to be bleeding and blending. Yeah, I'm sure you want it to just be exactly as you see there. I really wanted the dew to stand out on that page, so I added a bit of orange as a drop shadow. Now right here, this is super easy. I didn't even know how easy it was to draw a Death Star. I guess maybe because there's been so many. It's not too difficult. Just a circle, another little circle inside, and some lines. As you saw there, it's really not difficult. It's pretty much foolproof. It's going to be my thoughts page. I know in bullet journaling they tend to call it a brain dump page, but I just don't like the idea of that. So I'd rather call it thoughts. And because of Star Wars, I decided to write use the Force instead, even though it's not like they're, you know, using their mind per se, but it's pretty close. On this page, this is my first time actually adding this into my journal, so definitely if you come back and check out the one for February, when I do that, you're going to see it's going to be much better laid out, and there's a couple of things I was missing on this page, but I did want to have a place just to sort of track how much money am I making, how much am I spending, and how much do I still have to pay on my credit card, or if you have student loans or any mortgage payments or anything you have. This is a great place to keep track of everything for the month. So at the beginning, I put my income. I'm sure we all have, you know, everyone has their side hustles, so put those jobs there, put how much you expect to be making from it by the end of the month, and then on the right hand side in the total, just put how much you did actually make from it. Then I have fixed expenses, so those expenses that aren't going to change at all, like rent, cell phone bill, variable expenses like food, transit, and then how much money you owe on your credit cards. I added in a fun little ship here just to fill up the space, which that was my plan initially. However, like I said, I think what I should have done is added in, which I will do the next time, I want to add in a separate box of to buy page, or like groceries. So just a place to put any groceries that I need during the month. I ended up just writing it on a post-it note and sticking it in there, which defeats the point. So I'll definitely make sure to add that in, and just also add a space to write some notes that you might have. So maybe you paid part of your credit card. Maybe you paid $1,000 on your credit card. You still have to pay another $500. So you can write that there. 1,000 paid, gonna pay another 500 next week if you have money like that, and then you're good to go. This is my little Darth Vader. This is definitely a classic example of when you should use a pencil first. As you can see, I started going, and then I realized that the triangle part at the beginning, at the front of the face, should have been a bit further down. So that's how that whole mess came to be. But thankfully, I have the classic white gel pen to go ahead and fix any issues that I may have. Then I jumped over to my weekly spread. This is the main thing that I use every single day, and I wanted it to be with lightsabers, of course. So on this side of the page is doing like green saber. You can see it's not too difficult to draw something that's glowing. All you have to do is, just sketch out once again what the shape is, put the color around it, then I use some water to blend the color out. That gives that neon glowing vibe. And I did the same thing on the other side, as you can see right here, with a reddish pinkish color. The base at the bottom, I looked at a reference photo to see approximately what it looks like. Don't stress yourself out about little things like that, though, because that's what's going to cause you to give up on your journal. The whole point is that you're supposed to have fun, just enjoy making your little art, making your little design, some doodles. You don't want to end up becoming overwhelmed or feeling like, oh no, this thing doesn't look a masterpiece. It's really not supposed to. It's just supposed to be for your own personal enjoyment. No one necessarily even has to see it. It's just for you to make sure you're keeping track of what you need to do month to month and to bring yourself a little bit of joy while you're doing it. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to give it a like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see next. And may the force be with you. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye.